Alright guys, let me show you the absolute dumbest device I have ever seen in my entire life basically, and I have to do this one in English because I really want TP-Link to see this one eventually, just to really realize what crappy products they sell. So as you can see, this is a Wi-Fi repeater, Wi-Fi extender, and you know, those things are probably not that hard to make. You can buy them for like $6 and they work perfectly fine for 2.4 gigahertz as this one does, just that this one doesn't work, and I'll show you why in just a second. Alright, so this thing is new, it's really brand new, it just got bought. There's nothing wrong with it in terms of hardware, and it works basically perfectly fine in terms of hardware. So yes, of course you could install OpenWRT to it to make it work, because really what doesn't work about this thing is the crappy software, which is in fact pretty unusable at all to use it as a Wi-Fi repeater. Now sure enough, it might work as an access point to some extent, but even that kind of, well, let me show you what happens. So let's plug it in. And just to really show you how much this thing sucks, I'm gonna reset it first of all. So, yep, that should do it. Let's just reset this thing to its factory defaults. Alrighty, so this thing did reset. As you can see, we do have the TP-Link extender SSID here, and I'm just really gonna connect to it the plain way. I've not done anything. I've reset this thing. I have deleted the network from my device here, so it's really entirely new. And as you can see, first of all, we do get an IP address from this. It is not configured or anything, which, okay, fine. Like some routers do that. The more professional ones or repeaters, they don't really do that, because it just sucks to have the DHCP enabled by default, so they're just going to tell you which subnet you have to use. Which, alright, fair enough, this is a consumer device, a pretty cheap one, although you can get much cheaper ones from like China that work much better and have software that actually works. So, alright, yeah, they do want to provide their weird app for configuration and their TP-Link repeater.net domain to work and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, alright, fair enough. But, okay, so let's see if we can actually get here. And, well, there we are. So now this is in German. I'll just switch that over to English real quick so that you can see what I'm doing. And yeah, they tell you about the Tether app and stuff here. I'll really just, to keep it simple, we're definitely not going to use that app. It just sucks even more than the web interface does already. Let's just use admin here as a standard password that nobody's ever going to forget. Alrighty, here we go. Nothing spectacular just yet. So in the quick setup, nope. Well, of course, tells us that we could now connect to a network. So yeah, sure enough, let's do that, right? So if we actually do that, well, watch what happens. Alrighty, so we did that, and I noticed something. Can you see that little X on my Wi-Fi icon up there? I'm not even connected to the repeater yet, but guess what's connected to my network? So already, just by connecting this piece of shit to my network, my home or my actual internet network doesn't work anymore. And guess why? I'm going to show you in just a second. Well, look at this. So this is my normal network. You can see it by the signal string, but I'm right next to the actual repeater. And well, as you can see now, my home network got overwritten. The DHCP got overwritten by this thing. But well, we could just turn it off, right? Not quite. So, well, obviously we don't even have to connect to the repeater itself. We can just do it through our network, because we are now connected in a completely wrong subnet that is not going to give us any internet, as we can see. At any rate, but now let's have a quick look at the repeater. And oh, look at this! The DHCP server is on automatic. What does that mean? Well, apparently it has something called Smart DHCP, which it's just dumb. And because of that, guys, believe it or not, the first time I got this thing, I wasn't even able to freaking disable this feature. There was no freaking way to disable the DHCP. Well, I installed a firmware update that came out last month. So this is their official website, just to show you that real quick, where you can download the new firmware updates. And well, we're looking at the version 6 here, so you have to choose that. They also tell you if you choose a wrong hardware model, you might break your device and stuff like that. So yeah, here you can see this is the newest update. So yeah, it's a little different. I downloaded the German version, so maybe this would help, I'm not sure. But as you can see, just the last version added manual, which they, oh gosh, oh man, they didn't even spell that correctly. Ooh. Yeah, so added, oh gosh, manual DHCP settings in web-based management page. Okay, well, and if we scroll down here, fix the problem that tether may crash when change LED schedule on the app side. So that's what they were focusing on until the last update, which didn't even fix that bloody thing. Gosh. So yeah, maybe this thing is just new and whatever, they haven't really worked their software out just yet. But why are they selling it if it is that bad? Well, sure enough, it now has an option to turn it off, which does absolutely, well, it does something, but oh, look at this. Is it gone? No, there it is. Ooh, it's just really slow. You can turn it off, and if you turn it off, you will in fact not get an IP address from this thing anymore. But the physical, or let's say the DHCP server itself, still isn't turned off. It's still gonna block everything. It's still gonna block your original DHCP server. So let me show you that. I'm just gonna save that real quick, and then let's try to actually connect to the internet through this thing. Alrighty, so let's see what happens if we try to connect to it. Now, in a normal repeater, when you do that, when you do this exact thing, what's gonna happen? Well, it's just gonna communicate with the DHCP server of the host network, which we are connected to, as we could see in the interface. And we can also see that if we look at the repeater itself, it indicates us, well, 3 signal bars, 3 out of 4, yeah. So that should work, right? But look at this, nothing happens. I'm not getting any IP address. Boom, and I can tell you why. Because actually, this thing still has something activated on its DHCP server. It's just partially turned off. It's not going to give you an address anymore. But at the same time, it's also not turned off. It's blocking everything. It's still blocking everything. As soon as I plug this thing in, the whole host network doesn't have a, well, quite functioning DHCP anymore. And again, originally when I got this thing, it didn't even have any way of turning the DHCP server off. And even now you can, but it doesn't really help. It doesn't give you what you want out of this thing. So there's absolutely no freaking way to integrate this into any existing network whatsoever. Alrighty, so let's go back here. Let's just manually connect to this thing, which is going to let us access the web interface again, which is what we want to do. Well, no. And the thing is, it doesn't even really do that because it was stuck, or it is stuck on the non-working DHCP server. So as you can see, it doesn't even accept my manual input immediately. It first of all has to lose connection, and it's still trying. Well, shouldn't happen. Alrighty, there we go. So now my manual input works, which is good. Now let's see. Let's just really have a look at this thing. Let's click on status. And let's just see what it says. So Well, you could see that there's nothing connected to it, although it still talks about wired connection here, but I guess that's really just the loopback, and the Ethernet interface is kind of the same thing on this thing, I guess, something like that. But yeah, it says DHCP server turned off, and yet it does not freaking work. It just, goddamn, like as soon as you plug this thing in, there's absolutely no freaking way, and especially not through this thing, where of course the response of the DHCP server this thing itself has is much quicker than the response of your hosted network. There's absolutely no way to talk to the DHCP server of your actual host network. It's just not going to fucking work. So alright then, now you could say, well, you could just use the smart DHCP server, which actually works if you use auto. And I think really all this thing does is, if you have a TP-Link router this thing is connected to, it's going to basically make a second DHCP server, which is going to tell the clients that they're supposed to connect in the range of your original router. Now, sure enough, you can manually do this. You could turn this on and just, define an IP address pool that is somewhere in the range of something your host network actually accepts. But first of all, it does not work for the configuration I have here. This is not like a family house or something. This is a place where many people are going to connect to it. So I really just simply wanted to extend one place with this thing. So yeah, DHCP host name verification or authorization basically on the host network is required in order to get an IP address from my main network, which of course you cannot do if there's something active that blocks the DHCP port to my host network. So yeah, even because of that, it's totally fucked. Even because of that, there's no way to use, if you're forced to use the internal DHCP server, even because of that, there's no way to actually do this because it's not going to work. And also, I have tried on another network just to do it the way it's actually supposed to, and guess what happens? It's really buggy and it just sucks and it always makes problem, because guess what? It gives clients IP addresses that are already taken on the network, so it doesn't even check first of all whether it can ping this address, whether it might be already taken. It does not. It just freaking wildly does things. Gosh, it is so bad. Like, this is the worst router software I have ever seen in my entire life. Like, what the hell? Seriously. As much as I would like to put this thing in a trash can, I'm definitely gonna bring it back to the store where I got this from. I'm gonna return it because, well, no, absolutely. This is just so bad. All right, I know what you're saying. You're like, well, why not just enable the DHCP client of this thing so that it, well, automatically gives out addresses that are at least in the correct subnetwork? Wouldn't that normally work? And, well, maybe if you're using a TP-Link router, I'm not even sure if it works then. But in my setup, I tried that, and what it actually did was, well, the gateway address it basically handed out through its own DHCP was the address of the thing itself, not the address of my, well, host network gateway. So even that didn't work. There really is no point in using this thing. I tried everything. I tried setting it up as an access point first. I tried setting it up through the Ethernet cable. I tried really everything, but there's no freaking way to use it, even as an access point, when you're trying to integrate it into an existing network that maybe even needs DHCP hostname or MAC address authentication. It's just not gonna work because this thing forces you to use its own freaking DHCP server. It's just so bad, man. TP-Link, if someone from you is actually watching this, you gotta fix that as soon as possible. You gotta bring out a software update to this because it is so annoying, it is so bad. There is no way of properly using this thing. So, with that being said, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next one. Bye bye. So yeah, I did reset this thing once again, and I'll just let it boot up, and then I'm gonna unplug it and return it, because there really is no point of using this thing. It just sucks. So, well, I guess thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next one.